Thanks, Nick. I'm just going to stand here because I have some points. Hello. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Yeah, you guys are still wide awake. That's good. I'm Andrew from Sdn Bhd. We are basically a big data organization. So this is my favorite topic, actually. Talking about data analytics, location behaviorals, and all those kind of things. So that's what we really do. For the last 7 to 8 years, profiling people, identifying the right personas, and putting them into the right buckets, and help the brands to bridge the gap between them and their potential customers. Now, this is how we basically do it. I had 7 slides earlier yesterday, and just before we got onto the stage, it became 3 slides. Now it's just going to be 1 slide. Basically, it tells everything that I'm going to talk about today. So if you look at the slides, you will see certain numbers, and you will see some profiles saying male 42, lives in Kuala Lumpur, retail shopper, coffee lover, Samsung S7. There's a lot more data actually, but one thing that you don't see there is a name of the person, right? You don't see any names, but you see numerical, you see numbers. That numbers basically represent every unique person, right? So what we basically do in today's world, I'm going to share a bit of, there's too many of industries that we're working on. I'm just going to pick one of it so you can see how you can leverage that in terms of technology and through your customers and brand as well. Let's think about a brand A today, for example. The most challenging thing in today's world, the most challenging things, for example, if I take a property developers or a car makers, going on a highways, on a billboard, spending $250,000 on a billboard, hoping that someone who passes by that road is looking at buying a car, hoping that someone who passes by the road is looking at buying a house, hoping that someone who passes by the road is looking at getting a shampoo, Milo, Nestle, name it, any brand. And hoping that if I advertise in the newspaper, someone who buys the newspapers is looking at buying a house. Someone who's buying a newspaper is looking at buying a car. Similarly, sadly, in today's world, the same thing is also happening in social media. We're hoping that someone who is looking at Facebook, mass marketing, is looking at buying a house. Someone in Twitter is looking at buying a car. Now, why are we still doing this in today's world when we can actually find out who is looking at buying a car? Who is looking at buying a house? Who is looking at getting something, a household for their families? Who is looking at going to Tesco at 11 o'clock morning? Predictive analysis. So we have historical data, we have real-time data, and we have predictive data. And that's why I like this topic. It's really about data analytics. Now, for example, this may sound scary, but some of you probably already know. If let's say we run a heat map in this hall today from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, for example, at the end of the day at 5 o'clock, my system or the platform which is already available out there can actually tell how many people is in this building right now, this hall right now, and how many devices is being paired to use each unique person. And when you leave at 5 o'clock later, we can even tell the age, the gender, where were you before this, where were you most likely going to go after this. This is what we call the real data in today's world. And this is how we really go out and help those brands out there to bridge the gap, identify, find out the right audience and serve your ad. And the other thing is that, for example, let's say I put something on the billboard and or something on the radio, TV, ads, anywhere. At the end of the month, the chief finance officer, CFO or CEO is going to come to the marketing head, CMOs. I'm sure there's a lot of CMOs here to come back to you guys and say, for example, let's say you took $1 million last quarter, so what happens with the money? So what sort of data are we going to give the CFO or CEO? Are we going to tell them that, yeah, we had about 1,000 cars passes by the billboard? Are we going to say that, yeah, we managed to get 100,000 likes? So how are you going to correlate that to your actual sales or revenue in real life? That's what matters the most. not knowing how many likes, how many people actually clicked on my ad. I always tell my customers, we are not here to help to drive the number of clicks. We are not here to help to drive the number of likes, but we are here to help to drive the real visit, which is the offline pattern. Now, having this offline attributes is then where we go to the online attributes and we use and leverage social media targeting the right people. Okay, now one thing is we have managed to identify this set of people who's looking at buying certain things, right? Now, how do we engage them or how do we reach them is through social media, right? The next thing is, let's talk about the after. The after, all right? For example, let's take a brand Toyota, for example. Let's take Toyota today. Is anyone from Toyota here today? I hope not. Okay, let's just take Toyota, for example, today. Running a campaign, or they launch a new Vios or something like that, and then they run a billboard campaign, they run a Facebook campaign, and then they run a TV ad campaign, whichever campaign that can be. So, but if you are running your ad programmatically based on location attribute, doing your data analytic correctly, at the end of the day, you will know because of your ads how many people actually visited your showroom. You can even target your competitors. For example, let's say you want to go to Ford or Mazda and tell them and do some geofencing or something, and you want to find out people who goes to your competitors. People who goes to Ford should see Toyota's ad. People who goes to Mazda should see Toyota's ad. People who goes to Sdn Bhd should see Masing's ad. Does that help? Why are we really doing this is because when someone walks into a Ford showroom, most likely he's looking at buying a car, right? But if I search something online, it could be window shoppings, maybe something that I'm going to buy a year down the road. Or maybe, for example, my wife is looking at buying a house next year. She's already online right now, checking out which is the best place, what the prices looks like. But she's not going to buy a house right now. But how do I know who's looking at buying a house right now? What if we can geofence the entire competitors? For example, let's say, let's just take Gamuda, for example. Those are top giants of property developers in Malaysia. And let's just say IJM, let's just say Sdn Bhd, and we geofences certain places of these competitors and find out in real life who is actually walking into that showroom. Identify these people. The moment we know that, then we know who is looking at buying a house, who is not doing a window shopping on the net, but who is seriously looking at buying a house. I will not spend a time on the road paying petrol or my time to drive long way to go to a showroom if I don't have a need. I'll do it online. I'll do my research online. But if I'm really looking at buying a house, I want to see how my bathroom looks like, my kitchen looks like, my dining tables, all those places. I want to feel it before I buy it. That's the real offline attributes. That's where the real transaction happens. But when you have all these offline attributes, you need to use your online attributes. You need to use your social media to tap that people. For example, if I am looking at buying a car, find a way to reach me in social media. First, find out whether I'm looking at buying a car. Don't send me a message. I'm going to share something. This is the real thing, real life things that's happening today. How many of you all, when you watch a YouTube video, you come across an advertisement. You'll come across an advertisement. My fingers goes right button to skip an ad after 4 seconds. Do you guys do that? Why are we doing that? Because the ads that we are seeing is not relevant to us. No one is doing a data study. There's no analytics being done. An ad is just being pushed to all of us. It's mass marketing. I want to see an ad which is relevant to me. If I'm looking at buying a car, I should see a Toyota ad. I should see a Ford ad. Why am I seeing a McDonald's ad? It doesn't make sense. So that's how we can actually leverage in today's data and analytics to make sure that we are serving the ads to the right people and the people is seeing the right ads which is relevant to them so they can take an action after seeing that ad. That's what's the most important thing. Not number of impressions, not number of clicks, not number of likes, but the actual visit, the actual offline attributes that happens in your real place, in your real life. That's what matters the most. most? I guess I have actually a lot more to share, but we'll have a lot more time later to maybe perhaps to go through. Again, thank you very much, guys.